seen my share broken halo, folded wings that used to fly. They've all gone, where will they go? Broken halos that used to shine.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Master Craftsman Sam back here today. We got installment number 3 of our hanging door series. This is a door for a furnace room, so it's got drywall on the exterior, but not on the interior. Everybody just please like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell. Also, I've got all my tools posted in the description. I'd encourage you to buy through there because that directly supports my channel and supports me. Thank you very much for watching and enjoy. All right. This here door is a furnace room door, so it's only got drywall on the exterior. First off, we're going to note the flooring choice here is carpet. You want to use 3/8 inch. If it were tile, it'd be 3/4, wood floor 3/8, vinyl 1/8. We're going to grab our level and go ahead and put a shim on the floor at the desired thickness. What we're doing here is checking our trimmer for plumb. It looks like it's just an 1/8 inch out at top. So we could just go ahead and set that door and it would be plumb, but we'd possibly run into problems. So we're going to add shims. The shims will make it so if the door manufacturer cut the head jamb at the wrong length, we'll still be able to adjust everything and get our gaps right. Additionally, you might consider bumping a door out from the trimmer a little more if the casing might hit the wall, and you could possibly avoid that. We're going to grab a few shims, and I just put them right in my tool belt. So here you see we have marked our level with a Sharpie at each hinge point. Also, I've marked the top of the level in case the level gets flipped over. I'll know which one is the top. Here I'm just choosing an arbitrary amount of shim, and I marked it there so that I could set my other things down and turn away. So now I'll work off of what I did on the top. I stuck a shim behind there, and now I'm going to put my right hand on the top of the level, and I'm going to put my foot against the level. That will ensure everything's good. It's especially important for this next step. See, right now I'm inserting more shims. So I want to have my hand at the top here and my foot at the bottom, and just gently press in the shim until it wants to stay. Here I'm shimming up my bottom hinge, and there's a shim at the bottom of the door jamb as well. So that's 3 hinges but 4 shim spots.
Since there is no interior drywall, when we pop this door in here, we're going to want to just align it with the drywall on the exterior. And then we'll work from there, off of that. If your wall is looking like it's terribly out of plumb or kicked out, you might want to adjust that. Adjust your style, I mean. You might want to put it a little off to get everything right for your framing. Framers have allowable tolerances, and sometimes things aren't perfect. That's why, in our job, we must know how to make their imperfectness perfect. Right now I'm removing the packing and shipping materials from the door. I do that with the back of my hammer or the claw. Alternatively, use a pair of pliers or your dikes, alternatively known as carpenter's pliers. There I just set the door down after I opened it, as you see. That will enable you to move without holding it. Just set it up like a tripod. There I aligned with the exterior drywall jamb. And I'm going ahead and popping nails in there, which I'll find out here in a minute. Might not have been a great idea, but it does give me the opportunity to teach you what to do when you've done this. See, I should have checked my trimmer for twist, because there was a little bit of twist on it. Also, the shims, because they reduce in thickness, it will cause twist if you're nailing directly to the shim. Here I'm popping a nail above and below each inch before I move on, or at least that's what I should be doing. But I'm just assuming this trimmer was perfectly aligned and not twisted, however it was. As you can see, after I've popped my nails in, it kind of wants to sit inside of the other trimmer. There. So what we're going to do is put a shim underneath the striker side of the door to lift it up, to adjust our gaps. And as we're doing that, we'll see, we need to come over here and we need to pry the hinge side jamb out just a little bit to straighten everything. But first I'm getting my shim underneath the striker plate just right, so I have the right gap. So what am I doing? I'm popping my hammer behind here, and I'm giving it a little pry. As you can see it moving. That's all you have to do to straighten a jamb once it's already been installed to a twisted trimmer. If we had noticed that before, we wouldn't have to pry it at all. Our first shim on this side goes way at the top, but not on the hinge side. If you put one on the hinge side, it will tend to to be a problem. That's a last resort. So right at the top on the striker side, we're going to put a shim point. We're going to place at least 2 nails there, preferably 3. I like to stack my nails because when you nail in a stacked pattern, it actually makes things stronger. Here you can see I'm adjusting my bottom and popping some more shims in there. And then I align my jamb with the drywall. We're not worried about where the door sits on the stop right now, because we want to make things easier. We can always move that stop, but we want to make our casing sit flush. We're going to go ahead and put a 3rd nail in there now that we have adjusted it perfectly with the drywall. Now we're going to nail our bottom in. 2 nails, at least. There I'm putting 3. And a 4th for good luck. Next we need to get our striker side done. I'm pointing out the gap there. You can still adjust it. So I'm going to adjust it out. Once I've done that, I'm going to pop a 4th nail in the top. See what I'm doing there is protecting my jamb and using a little piece of wood to bump it over and suck it back to the trimmer. These are all techniques that are good to have. I always keep a wood block in my tool bag just for such instances. Here we're going to put 2 nails directly by where the striker plate goes, but close to the doorstop. And we're also going to pop one through the doorstop and one on the opposite side. This nail arrangement causes less work for your painter. Here you can see we're reusing the shims from the first 2 doors a lot. Those shims, once we've knocked them off and broke them, can be worthless sometimes. Most of the time, they'll still be able to be used. So don't waste them. Throw them in your barrel. 2 nails on those 2. As you can see, I've inserted 2 shims above the striker, and in here I'm inserting 1 below the striker. There should be, all in all, 6 shim points on the striker side of a door and 4 shim points on the hinge side of a door. Here I'm about to adjust the stop, now that I have the door perfectly where I want it. The reason I'm adjusting that stop is because when I shut the door, it does not want to sit flat against the stop. When you're doing custom home work, for customers that will really pay attention, you want to make sure it hits perfect. There may be some instances where this step isn't as important, but should always be taken into account. Because if it's really bad, you will get called back. Notice as I'm doing this, I'm never going to adjust right where the striker hits. See, there I'm right above the striker, but I will never adjust right at the striker. Another thing to note, the adjustment points that I am using on the stop are right where the factory has brad nailed the stop to the jamb. So everywhere I'm hitting, I see a brad nail hole. There I'm going to go ahead and nail that back to the trimmer because it looks good. That needed to come a little towards the door. I should have probably checked that, but it worked out. There I'm using my thumb to push the stop over just a hair. I check it. It looks good. Now that our stops are in place, we check all our gaps and make sure our door hasn't moved. Because sometimes while you're banging and clanging on those, it can move the whole door. You don't want that. Here I'm removing all my shims. And I'm telling you about my cold chisel. The cold chisel is a great tool. Look how I'm using it here. I have ground down that edge to where it is no longer sharp at all. And sometimes I flip it around and I use it like a hammer extension kind of. Because the back end of it is like a tiny hammer bell. Now, as I whack these shims, you'll notice I hit them pretty close to the jamb. Here I won't do that because there's finished drywall. If I accidentally hit past that, then I'll ding my customer's drywall. So I'm going to use the multi-tool. And I'm going to come in at an angle from the bottom and work myself up through the shim and zip it right off. As you notice, I'm just gently wiggling that. That has a purpose. When you're dealing with an MDF jamb, the tendency is for that jamb to want to split into a bunch of pieces when you do that. So be careful. These jambs, when you're not, or when you're manipulating the end of the jamb, they're very fragile. the ends of these jambs will crack out, break, and cause problems. There I've got all my shims cut off, and this door is all done. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe and click the bell.